I didn't have anything planned, but the discussions have been so interesting and in so much depth in the past few days. Um, I really appreciated it. And let's see if I can formulate a question. Um, it keeps, everything comes back to now, obviously, and there's the the nothing to be done. There's nothing, any attempts on anyone's part to make something happen or to wish for something are lopa, contrary to um, that's going in the wrong direction. When there is lopa, and it's just more and more subtle. I think when lopa arises, yeah, it's very subtle, and without there being attention to that, then again, it's impossible to know and counterproductive. I guess that's not a question, but I found that very helpful.
And that is the right understanding. See, if
Mm-hmm.
anyone does not see the subtlety of our Dhammas, no understanding of the truth at all, no understanding of the virtues of the Buddha. That's why right understanding is not just understand the words, but
Mm-hmm.
understand the subtlety of reality. And that is right understanding, which is the first of the Eightfold Path. Right
Yeah.
understanding. So the more understanding of the truth that is so very deep, that is more understanding to let go at that
Mm-hmm.
very moment only. So even the path leading to realize the truth of what is there now, so very subtle,
Mm-hmm.
because only the more understanding of the profound, of the subtlety of realities is the development of Magga, the eighth
Mm-hmm.
Magga, the Eightfold Path. See, that's why as soon as there is still ignorance, no understand the truth of whatever is there now, right now, it's not the development of right understanding. So it begins to understand. Now it's so very subtle because even it's there, it's not known as it is. And if we try other way to read a lot, to take the word to be considered, but it's not understanding of the profoundness of reality which is now appearing. So the
Mm-hmm.
past is different from the one who takes it for something to do. Try to have right understanding. But right understanding understands the very subtle, the truth of this moment. For example, seeing is there all the time, almost all the time, but who knows? It seems all day they're seeing how subtle it is. So the moment of understanding the subtlety of all Dhammas is only the path. Because at that moment it begins to let go. Not I try to let go by reading and considering, but understanding that Dhamma is so very subtle. Without considering, by conditions, not by I. See how subtle it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Right understanding of the truth, which is so very subtle, is the only way. Without understanding the path, it's not understanding the Four Noble Truths. So noble, so true, even the path right now, unknown. But it develops its moment of understanding. Little by little, do not mind, that's not yet the understanding, the nature which sees or that and that and that, but beginning to listen carefully, and that is the only way. For example, no thought about seeing as it is, but now hearing again and again that seeing sees, What does it mean? No one there at all, only the seeing. So learn to understand the seeing, a reality which arises and see now, before it can be accustomed to its nature as no one, only the reality which now sees. It takes quite a long, long time, because there's not just only seeing. There are other realities too, not known. Just learn to be known, little by little, without the idea of self, which is so very deep. I will, just listen. And at moment of understanding, it's different from the moment without understanding. That's all. Is it subtle? That
Very
this
subtle.
is the only way, see, let go the idea of self to try to do. And the object has to be right now, not that we try to have it.
Sure. And the other thing that comes to mind frequently are that things arise, Cetas arise by conditions. And it's very easy to say by conditions. It's a great sort of lump it all together.
Yeah,
And by conditions.
but
And yet it's,
yeah,
go ahead, John.
by condition, who
Uh-huh.
think about it, what is conditioned to think like that, see,
Yes.
deeper.
Right. Well, it's I that thinks about it. Unless there's understanding and wise attention. But and what are they? Well, what are they? And I don't mean the list of things, because there are a lot of conditions, but hard to put words around it. But how do I put it? No one in control. There's no I, no nothing that can bring them about. That's yeah.
To be reminded by conditions again.
Yes.
If understanding is not enough, other and no other way.
Mm-hmm. Very subtle.
And right understanding is so very truthful. Never lie. It understands the truth.
Mm.
How much understanding? Is there more moments of thinking carefully, considering again and again of each word of the truth? And that is the development of understanding, Magga.
Mm-hmm. And it would seem that the considering again and again, you often think of considering as being thinking
Until
in
it's not
conventional terms, but it's not the same, is it?
until by conditions.
Yes. Yes.
Firmly.
It's the considering that gets closer and closer to the truth itself, to the actual reality itself. So now understanding has to develop to get closer and closer to directly understand the nimitta of the visible object. So it's all wise attention, but getting closer and closer to the
Right.
reality itself. But still, vitakka, and sanya with each of those moments, however close it is to the truth.
Right, right.
So this is what is meant by the pariyati, getting firmer and firmer, ready to condition the direct understanding.
And the letting go of the idea of self, as I understand it, is a reference to understanding.
Yes.
Because if there's any deliberate letting go of an idea of self, then it's going to be self again, letting go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can't be. Yeah.
So it's not a reference to, like, when the idea of self is apparent, then it has to be let go.
No. That's thinking.
So I think it's an odd turn of phrase, because what happens when understanding is developed is that the tendency for the idea of self to arise is reduced, is chipped away at, and
Yes.
eventually it just doesn't arise at all. So it's not necessarily apparent there and apparent to be let go of, as it were.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, I think. As soon as you start thinking about the idea of self in connection with whatever one's understanding of now is, it's thinking of something that's not letting go of the idea of self.
Yeah, the key is always the development of understanding of anything that appears, whatever reality is appearing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that also supports the right consideration. I mean, one cannot consider one's way to understanding consideration to be useful.
Yes.
In the first place.
Right. That's right. And one can't consideration happens, arises by conditions, and it's
yeah, well,
right.
The consideration is of the quality, that depends on the quality of the consideration depends on the level of one's understanding to begin with. But hearing and considering again and again is the necessary condition for things to improve over time.
Yes. It's so easy to think I've heard this before. And not well, yes, that's right. We have heard it before, but that's not the point. The point is listen and consider, and I can't even say listen and consider because we can't tell ourselves to consider, but the consideration that can occur with the listening.
I think, we've been studying for many years, and it's unlikely that one's going to hear anything new.
Exactly.
All of a sudden. So it's actually going to be the same again and again.
Yeah.
For the rest of this life.
You can hear things. Hear things. You can hear things and realize it's being considered in a different way. I mean, there are many times when I've listened and I know I've heard this before, and yet it'll suddenly some recognition that, wait a minute, this is seeming a bit different. And I guess I like to think it's because there's a bit more understanding of it and the subtlety of it.
Moments of kusala considering, moments of akusala considering, but it's all gone. But so quickly it's taken for my considering, but they're just different
Exactly.
moments of thinking wisely or unwisely, wise or unwise attention, and each one gone. And if one tries to work it out, tries to understand whether it's the kusala or akusala considering a moment ago, it's just more proliferation, more clinging, more I. So it's actually just moments of wise or unwise thinking about the Dhamma, each one gone, nothing to do with I or anyone else.
More story and often not at the time anything to do with the reality at the present moment.
Exactly. I'd like to bring up a few more comments about breath, which, there were various references to yesterday. We know that it can be an object of samatha by conditions, not by anyone wishing or willing or trying anything. And we know, we often say it can be an object of right understanding as Dhamma. But of course, when we mention breath, it's the concept. We're referring to particular rupas that we refer to as breath. The first point is that when we're talking about hardness of the body, hardness here that's experienced, we don't say body is the object, because we know that, for example, in Kayanupassana, it is different rupas that are taken for a whole, a body. So we talk about understanding of hardness, understanding of softness. Well, in breath, it's just the same. It's the particular softness or the particular vayo conditioned by citta that we refer to conventionally as breath. But perhaps for some people it's misleading when we talk about understanding breath as a reality, because it's actually the rupa that is taken for breath, just like the hardness that is taken for a body. And then another comment is that last time when we were here and Tambak was here, there was discussion about breathing and breath. And you were mentioning that when you use the word breathing, it is when there is the intention by the citta to breathe deeply or shortly or slow or long or something. But normally breath, the rupas that we refer to as breath, are conditioned by citta at almost every moment in life. But it's not breathing, but conventionally we'd say there's breathing all the time. I'll just pause there. Do you have any comment on either of these points first?
No matter what part of Kayanupassana Satipatthana, all concerned with the nature of rupa, no matter what part is taken. For example, the taste, when it's there, it's not the breath. So what is taken as this or that before has to be realized that actually it's only just the reality which is hard or soft, so on.
And I'm emphasizing this point is because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding when people
That's even how much understanding of the words about breath, but at moment of understanding breath, it is moment of letting go gradually until that cannot be taken for I or anything.
And it's actually the same with whatever topic we're talking about, like foulness of the body or anything else. If it's taken for something or a body, or then it's not the understanding of Dhamma. So whatever words, whatever conventional terms are being used, it's just referring to rupa at this moment that appears.
Would you mind repeating the point that Ajahn just mentioned, which you said you found helpful?
Well, I think it was stressing the point that I mentioned, that we know that yesterday we were talking about breath as an object of samatha, and in that case we're talking about concepts like we talk about how life depends on breath now. So it's not the reality, but without the realities there wouldn't be those ideas. But when we talk about breath as the object of insight, which we do quite often, we say, oh, there's no understanding of breath now as a reality. Well, we don't say there's no understanding of body now as a reality, but it's actually just the same, because there is no reality of breath. There are rupas, which are referred to as breath, with or without, with right or wrong understanding. Usually for most people with wrong understanding, they talk about focusing on breath, but it has nothing to do with the reality of breath. So I think it's good to be a little more precise. And the
So that would...
second point was that Ajahn was stressing was anything we're talking about under Kayanupassana. So I gave the example of parts of the body or loathsomeness or anything. It's different rupas that are being referred to, no matter whether we call them parts of the body or breath or loathsomeness or anything else. We're talking about understanding of rupa that is appearing now.
Well, I can see in the case of, say, breath or breathing, because it manifests in different ways. There can be understanding of the softness or the, I don't know, the movement within the body. That's the sort of thing you're referring to in when you speak of breath as object of understanding, I suppose.
Not really, because when, like I mentioned, like in the discussion last time, when talking about breathing, Ajahn was emphasized it's when there's the intention to breathe in a particular way, not the nature of breath. So we have to distinguish between breathing and breath. And when we talk about the breath moving in the body, it's not the understanding of the actual rupa, the reality.
No, but the motion is the rupa.
The motion is a rupa.
Right, so that's what I'm referring
But
to.
motion in the body, it's just the motion, yes.
Right.
It's actually the point that we're making is just the same point you've always made, that breath is a concept.
Right. So I don't know if the texts refer to breath as object of insight as such, but anyway, what that would refer to would be the motion or the softness or the warmth, the heat that manifests when there's breathing. When it comes to parts of the body, though, I'm a little bit confused because the internal organs, they are not observable in any way. So how can the internal organs be object of insight development?
Okay. Where's, where's breath?
Where is breath?
On the tongue.
No.
So everyone knows what breath means. Okay. But not understanding the ultimate truth of Nama and Rupa only. That's why, as long as there's not yet the fully understanding of the truth, how can it let go breath as just the Rupa, like any Rupa? Right.
Like softness here, touching my shirt, or softness here by the. It's just softness, but different, conditioned by utu or conditioned by chitta, but it's just a softness, just a rupa that is experienced and gone. And just one moment when you said when there's breathing, but our definition of when there's breathing is different from Ajahn's definition of breathing, because at this moment there's no intention to breathe in a particular way, like to inhale like that or long exhale. This is what last time when we were here Jan was referring to as breathing, whereas we think of breathing as what occurs all day, every day, but different conventional ideas of what is breathing. So breath can appear even when there's no special breathing like that.
So those references to breathing in long and breathing out long, and they are like a deliberate attempt to control the breathing. Is that right? Or have I got
Realities are in the daily life, every moment. So there is the idea of I and breathing and breath and everything as usual. But what is true? Nama, the reality which experiences the object, and Rupa, that which cannot experience no matter what, hardness or taste or smell, whatever which cannot experience. It's not me or I or someone, only ultimate reality. So,
Sarah was saying that your definition of breath is different from breathing of breathing is different from
okay, now,
the conventional idea
now
of breathing. Yeah.
breathe shortly, shortly and long. See,
So that's what I would call
by then,
controlled
by
breathing.
then, the nature of breath appears that it's that long or short by breathing.
The nature of breath
Yeah,
appears.
because when you breathe and
Yes.
short or long, the breath is short or long. So it depends on a little more understanding that long or short is done by breathing. Okay, now short or long breathing.
Yes.
That seems to be a conventional idea of short or long, because we know that actually the rupa conditioned by the chitta at each moment is so fast. So when we talk about long breath or short breath, it's just a conventional idea of long or short breath. Actually, many rupas conditioned by many chittas in the time it takes for what we call a long breath or short breath.
That which is short or of that which is long is known. So it depends on at that moment. Understanding is more than just usual, because we take the hardness or softness as a reality. But when it's short or long, it has to be known too. It's different.
Right. It known by what? Has to be known by what? Understand?
Nama.
Well.
Not
What
me.
kind of chitta could
Not
know
me.
short or long?
It's the intention with each citta.
with each citta.
So-
Yeah.
Now breathing,
There must be intention,
so
cetana.
it's done by intention. To be short or long.
And this is what before you were talking about referring to as breathing, when there is the intention to take what we conventionally call special breaths, but it's actually just all daily life, like in yoga or exercise or underwater, the different dharmas, but still it's just the rupa, the breath, no matter in that situation or this, and it just depends whether it appears or doesn't appear, of no significance. But we're just talking about different circumstances, I think, different conventional situations.
Ajahn, are you, sorry?
Kayanupassana Sripatthana section on breath, no matter you are swimming or whatever, it's just a reminder that it can be known to understand whatever is there as it is, whether it's rupa or nama, in order to let go the idea of I or breath.
No matter swimming or yoga or long breaths or short breaths or no thought of breath, it's just different rupas.
Well, in the
those two.
texts we have, for example, in the Satipatthana Sutta, the first pabba or bapa of the Gayanupassana Satipatthana is the breathing. Yeah, but
In truth, it's just only that which is real, arising and falling away and then gone.
so when you talk about long or short breath, are you referring to what is in that, like that,
Okay.
the Anupana section of the Satipatthana Sutta, which is the monk who goes into the forest and
Even touching, short or long.
can be either, yes,
Yeah.
depending on your values. That's a conventional relative idea, yeah.
Microphones.
Devices playing in the background, I think, so we're just getting that sorted.
Oh, okay, okay.
Just reminding everyone, turn your mobiles off. And underwater, because so we know that actually, because conventionally we talk about holding one's breath underwater and how there's no breathing underwater, but we know that actually the rupa of breath is conditioned by each citta other than seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. So actually their breath rupas, the softness, the hardness, is being conditioned by citta all the time. But it conventionally it seems that there's no breathing. So just do you have any comments?
Seems to me that what we read in, say, the Anapanasati section of the Satipatthana Sutta is not about specifically about the rupa of breath, but is about the conventional idea of breathing. And it refers there to, it says, he taking in a long breath, he knows taking it. So I'm just wondering if that is what Ajahn is referring to, why she's mentioning long breath and short breath. Is that because it's what is found in the texts. But when it says that taking in a long breath, he knows it is a long breath. I'm just wondering what is the object of the understanding there?
Should we read about Anapanasati, the Kayanupassana?
Okay, sure.
Okay, please, word by word.
Right. Can you pass that book and cover there? Or I can get it up on my computer.
You can get it on your computer.
I'll get it.
Not just one.
One papa from now on.
It's Majjhima, right? Majjhima 10. I just wait for my computer to start up.
Or they have a copy of the CD market like that. Just while he's looking for that, because one other comment you made last time, you were saying that in deep sleep there is breath, the rupa's conditioned at each moment, but no breathing because no intention to move the breath, whereas conventionally we'd say, of course, there is breathing, but so this is a particular way of talking about breathing when there is special intention to move the breath. So that was something quite new for us, the idea that there is actually no breathing in sleep because no intention to breathe long or short or hold breath or anything else.
Okay. That's why we have to begin again from the very beginning. Without citta, can there be breath? And while one is asleep, fast asleep, is there citta?
There's citta, so
there
breath,
must be breath.
breath at each
As
moment.
long
yes.
as it's not
Yes.
death yet.
Always breath,
Mhm.
but
Unknown.
unknown, no intention to move it or
Even
think
now,
about it.
breath
No.
is not known.
No, but it's there at each moment, conditioned. And when you said, well, when there's the intention to move it, to breathe long or short, then breath can appear. But this sounds a little bit like a meditator's idea. This is why they focus on the breath, because they say, oh, then it can appear. Whereas actually, it's all by conditions. For example, no matter whether one's doing one's yoga or swimming or anything else, usually breath doesn't appear, but it can because it's just a rupa by conditions that like
So
any
now,
other.
as long as there is breath, there is citta.
Mhm.
Known or not known, it doesn't matter, because just one moment of experiencing one object only. So at moment of citta experiences other object, is not understanding the moment of citta, which is breathing.
Mm.
Just to repeat that last point, because I'm slightly distracted. So yes, if the citta is conditioning breath all the time, but the rupa all the time that we refer to as breath, but it's not unknown and it's not known at all unless there's what you refer to as breathing or intention to move the breath.
Is there breath now? See,
Must be.
there must
yes,
be.
Yes.
As
Otherwise, no life at all.
as long as there is citta.
Yes.
There's always intention with the breath. Isn't that not right? But we're not aware of it. it's not known, because it wouldn't be happening if there were not intention.
There's intention at every moment in life, but
Yes, exactly.
like now, no particular intention to,
Right,
say, breathe deeply or hold the breath
Right.
or think of the stomach or anything else. It's just the rupa conditioned by chitta at each moment,
Right.
all the time.
And when we talk about breathing in long or breathing in or out short, that again, that's just descriptive of what occurs at the times there are conditions for deep long breaths or little short ones. There's I think those descriptions in the suttas or in this one are always misleading, just like they are in the Satipatthana Sutta. You need to do this, you need to do that. That's not instructive.
Right, that's, as you say, I mean, it's misleading, and that's why it's the meditator's
Yes,
idea of following something in order to focus or understand breath.
right.
So it is actually quite subtle, because
Yes,
as the Jan was saying, if there's no intention to breathe in a particular way, then the breath doesn't appear. But when we read about breathing in long or short, they seem to be conventional
Yeah.
ideas and not actually pointing to the realities. Anyway, Jonathan's ready to go with the text.
Okay. And how, bhikkhus, does a bhikkhu abide contemplating the body as body? Here a bhikkhu, gone to the forest or the root of a tree or empty hut, sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, set his body erect, and established mindfulness in front of him, ever mindful he breathes in, mindful he breathes out.
I have a question. In order to know, not to understand it, just to know breath, do we have to sit like that?
No.
So only for those who sit
Yes.
like that.
Right.
Not, it doesn't mean that anyone has to do like that.
Right.
It can be
This-
lying in the bath any time,
Right.
because for them they're swimming. Exactly,
This is his daily
doing yoga.
routine anyway.
It's the daily
Right.
routine of the
Right.
monks in the forest.
Okay.
and it's not an instruction as to what needs to be done. It's
No.
and that's
No
where the
matter
mistakes
who
are.
is developing anapanasati or not, it depends. For we now we do not have the idea to have jhana or more higher piti or samadhi, but it's just ordinary. So includes everything for everyone at any time and anywhere.
Okay. Breathing in long, he understands, I breathe in long.
What's the meaning? I, not yet understanding the truth, because it can be the development of jhana, not understanding the truth as satipatthana, because satipatthana, the patthana of sati is anything.
And when saying I'm breathing in long, it may just be conventional wording for describing this moment, so there can still be understanding at those moments, because they're still just dhammas with or without right understanding.
And included the person who has intention to develop samatha.
This is obviously a description of such a person who's intending to develop samatha with breath as object. Or breathing out long, he understands I breathe out long. breathing in short, he understands, I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands, I breathe out short. So the word understands there, does that indicate a level of understanding?
By way of samatha or satipatthana.
Would have to be by way of samatha, wouldn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, if he's
Kayanupassana satipatthana, there must be breath no matter one is developing, samatha or vipassana.
yes,
Breath is there, taken as usual, I'm breathing.
yes, but
So we learn about the truth in what way that it can have more understanding,
But-
by way of samatha or by way of vipassana.
right. But this is not at this stage of the sutta.
Not
Is
yet,
not describing.
just I'm breathing like now.
So samatha, the understanding
Or
here would be.
vipassana. Still I'm breathing. Until study more.
Gee.
And if it's even if it is the intention to develop on samatha, but even at that moment, because like we said, there can be understanding together with mundane samatha or after before, so in between there can still be understanding of that Dhamma, the intention, the rupa condition, the anytime.
Okay, so this is like similar to in the other sections, in the other papa or pabba, I forget what it is now, pabba, about walking, he understands I'm walking, or right, yeah, okay.
Or looking at the skeleton or any. So it's just another situation, another story, depending on the accumulations, but still just different dharmas. So even if it's referring to development of samatha, it's also referring to understanding of dharmas at that time.
And
Because-
right understanding knows whether it is by way of samatha or by way of satipatthana.
Yes, of course, if he's already developed understanding
The one who
to,
can have kayanupassana satipatthana must have right understanding enough. Not no understanding at all.
but I'm wondering if this is still part of the preamble describing the scenario, like we say the monk who goes to the forest, sits cross-legged, mindfulness in front of him. Is that a reference to
Those who
understanding?
have understanding enough,
Right.
not
So-
just anyone just sit and do.
So it's describing the person who already has developed understanding to a certain degree. Yes. Right, okay. Right, next section. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation.
How? Not just the word. How?
How what?
To do that without any understanding, try so hard, or what?
So what does he mean by tranquilizing the bodily formation?
Not by anyone, but understanding understands.
Yes, but I'm asking about tranquilizing the bodily formation. What's the
Okay,
bodily
now,
formation?
Without panya, can anyone be tranquilized? Tranquilizing now?
So it's a reference to
Those
calmness,
who
is it?
understand
calmness.
everything by way of samatha or by way of satipatthana. Because it is kayanupassana satipatthana. So whatever is there, no matter breathing or breath or whatever, right understanding at level of vipassana has to understand the truth.
I was under the impression that the commentaries say that
I think the bodily formation here must be referring to the kaya of Chaitasikas, because
the what, sorry?
the kaya of the Chaitasikas, because that kind of body, because there can't be calming of the rupas, so it has to be calming of the namas, but they call it bodily formations. So it must be the Sankara Kanda, the Chaitasikas.
And without understanding, can it be calm when one tries to be calm? Not calm.
And so even if one has the Pali and the commentary, it can all be read with the wrong way of I or he doing this or that. So that's why it actually doesn't come down to whether we have the commentary or whether we have the Pali, but understanding that each Dhamma is conditioned at each moment, and no matter what language is used about I and he, no one there, no one doing anything, no body, no bodily formation, no conventional breath, just different namas and rupas conditioned in different ways. And intention to calm the bodily formation. So if anyone has the idea to be calm or make calm arise, of course it's wrong practice. So it's very deep and subtle.
And how can be calm at moment of anapana aramana?
by kusala citta.
How can be calm? See? Tranquilize? How?
Only at the moments of understanding and kusala, conditions are calm at those moments, not by anyone doing anything or trying to make it arise.
That's why they try to be calm without any understanding of how calm can be.
And that's why even samatha or any understanding cannot develop without understanding of, like this, what calm is and how it arises and what cittas it arises with and so on. Because if one just wishes or tries to be calm, it's just
Each
no good.
word of the teaching is about understanding. Even breath. What about understanding of breath? Without understanding, just sit and try. Is that kusala also?
I'll just read a short bit from the commentary in the Visuddhimagga on now breathing in long, etc. is said in order to show the different ways in which he is a mindful worker. For in the Padisambhada, in the exposition of the clause, ever mindful he breathes in, mindful he breathes out, this is said. He is a mindful worker in 32 ways. 1, when he knows unification of mind and non-distraction by means of a long in-breath, mindfulness is established in him. Owing to that mindfulness and that knowledge, he is a mindful worker. 2, when he knows... No, there's only 1 and 2, and then 31. Right. This is said in the Padisambhada in connection with the clause, ever mindful he breathes in, mindful he breathes out. This is what it says. He is a...
Shall we say it has to be understanding from the very beginning? Shall we say we have to begin from the very beginning? Just mindfulness, what is it? See, no understanding of the truth of mindfulness. So how can it understand the words? That's why even one word from the very beginning, to be mindful, what is it?
Sati, sati with right understanding.
What is mind and what is mindful? Is this paying respect to the Buddha? Just read and take one's own idea from that word.
So being mindful, not conventionally, but being mindful means sati arising, having sati, because usually no sati. So it's referring to kusala moments with understanding.
And just take the word mindful, the breath, to be mindful of the breath. What panya is there? From the very beginning, what is the panya which has to develop on the breath? It's not easy. It's so deep. Otherwise, we take Dhamma as so very simple. Just be mindful on breath. But in truth, mindful is kusala or akusala. And at moment, mindful of the breath, what panya is there? Because it's the development of panya to has more calmness.
Usually when people read about being mindful of the breath, they take it as concentrate on the breath, wrong concentration. And here it has to be understanding of calm, because it's referring to understanding in the development of calm. But even then there can be understanding of the reality of that calm or that understanding.
And how
anytime.
come to be calm?
Only by understanding.
What kind of understanding?
To be more and more calm with that object, then it's talking about the understanding in the development of samatha. But because it's under Kayanapasana, we're actually talking about the understanding of realities. So even at that time or any time, there can be understanding of that Dhamma as anatta.
But even how breath can be conditioned for calmness, more considering again and again, carefully, deeply. For example, now everyone has breath and everyone is breathing. What is calmness of breath? See, it's the calmness of breath. What condition calmness of breath?
Only when it's reflected on wisely and
wisely, as it's just only breath.
Right.
Life exists and depends on breath.
and next moment there may not be any breath and no more
So
life.
very, very fragile, very, very tiny, very moment, but it's so very important. That's why just whatever is there, fame or wealth or whatever, just by the citta, which is breathing. So see the danger of only that moment, just citta, breathing. It conditions lots of ignorance and attachment. So without it, nothing can be like now. That's why there are so many ways to consider the truth, to be calm, but without understanding the truth that it all is only arising and falling away, even breath. So just breath, that can there be moments of clinging to well, enjoying life and so on, only when there is breath. Is it calm? Begin to be calm. Just
And next life the same, on, just breath that everything depends on, and just for more arising of useless dhammas, more danger, more dukkha, on and on, all depending just on breath.
Because not understanding. I better not turn it off. Okay.
Or the problems because of not understanding breath as just a reality.
So be calm at moment of breath, impossible. It has to be understanding which can condition calmness. Nothing now without breath, depending on breath.
Shall we have number 2 now?
Yes, I thought I'd just read something though from earlier because it's quite relevant. Just an earlier passage about the context of the sutta. It says, in the sutta it says, "Hear bhikkhus," and the commentary says, "Hear bhikkhus." Bhikkhus means bhikkhus in this dispensation, a bhikkhu. For this word here signifies the Buddha's dispensation as the prerequisite for a person to produce concentration through mindfulness of breathing in all its modes. And it denies that such a state exists in any other dispensation. For this is said, quote, "Bhikkhus only here is there an ascetic, here a second ascetic, a third ascetic, a fourth ascetic. Other dispensations are devoid of ascetics." That's why it was said above, "In this dispensation, a bhikkhu." So it's very much important that it's a person who's developing insight that is being referred to here. So we were doing the third...
I think that's why it's important that whatever, because before we would think some parts under Kayanapasana are referring to development of samatha and some to vipassana, but actually whatever we read in the text is about the development of satipatthana. So even when there are references to samatha or development of samatha, there can be understanding of dhammas as dhammas anytime.
Yeah, but I seem to recall that in the commentary it does say that the first tetrad or the first two tetrads are samatha and the third and fourth tetrads are insight. But that doesn't preclude the person having insight.
Shall we read from the very beginning again and stop just one phrase?
Whatever you like, Ajahn.
Of what you were just reading just then.
Just then,
Yeah.
about in this dispensation.
Yes.
About anapanasati.
About anapanasati, right. Which part?
Sentence by sentence.
Yes, but where do you want
From
me to
the
go back
very
to?
beginning, so we can stop and discuss.
Right, okay. The beginning of the sutta or of the commentary?
You just read.
Okay, what I just read, okay.
Otherwise we're not going to need another 2 hours.
But
What you were
to
just
understand
reading.
clearer,
Yeah.
it's more than just have other suttas,
Yep.
many suttas.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it talks about the meaning of God to the forest, etc. Let me find it again. He now said, "Hear bhikkhus," etc., giving the meaning of that in detail. Herein, quote, "Hear bhikkhus a bhikkhu," that's from the sutta, means bhikkhus in this dispensation a bhikkhu. For this word here signifies the Buddha's dispensation as the prerequisite for a person to produce concentration through mindfulness of breathing in all its modes. And it denies that such a state exists in any other dispensation. For this is said, Bhikkhus, only here is there an ascetic, here a second ascetic, here a third ascetic, here a fourth ascetic. Other dispensations are devoid of ascetics. And that's a quote from Majjhima Nikaya and Anguttara Nikaya. That is why it was said above, in this dispensation, a bhikkhu.
If there's no question, please go on.
Right. Shall we go back to the and to pick up at the breathing in long and short, that part? Because there's a lots in between.
Shall we skip?
Shall we change the topic altogether?
Okay, I've got another point on breathing that we discussed. So whenever there's any movement, like in sleep, then, or like now, there has to be, even when there is no intention to move, like in deep sleep, there's movement, the vikara rupas have to be there. And we discussed how the vikara rupas make the breathing occur. And you mentioned about the hardness, the different hardnesses with and without the vikara rupas, and without them no movement. Could you say a little more about the hardness that is different depending on the vikara rupas?
In even right now, with our vikara rupa, can there be the moving of the rupa?
No, there has to be. For any breathing, there have to be the vikara rupas. For the rupa that is breath conditioned by chitta at each moment, then there doesn't need to be any movement. But when there's what you refer to as breathing, any intention to like breathe long or short or something like that, there have to be vikara rupas that arise in the kalapas with the indivisible rupas and so on. So they're
Long or
there.
short?
Sorry?
Long
Long
or
or short.
short.
They must be there, the vikara rupas. These are the rupas like the lightness, the malleability and so on that can arise or may not arise in a group of rupas. Because we know the different groups of rupas conditioned by citta, there can just be the kalapa with 8 rupas, including the softness or hardness, which we can refer to as breath, or it can be 9 rupas with kaya vinyati, the intention to move, but no vikara rupas, or 10 when it's with vachi vinyati, the intention to speak and sound, or 11 when it's the 8 plus the 3 vikara rupas, but no intention to move, and so on. So very intricate. And I was interested that even when the vikara rupas arrives, even the hardness is different. So even at moments of breathing in long or short, the hardness in the group is different.
Just intention itself cannot make it move.
Can't be just intention, there have to be those vikara rupas, and may or may not be the bodily intimation when there's the intention for it to move. should be at that moment of breathing in long or short, should be the bodily intention, bodily intimation, and the vikara rupas. So the more we read or hear or consider about breath, the more intricate it is, the more subtle it is. Does anyone else have anything they would like to ask about related to this topic? Or anyone at home? Alberto, anything you would like to bring up on this topic? Or anyone else?
I was just thinking about Ajahn at the beginning, what was talking about the difference between considering and thinking, which is what we do when listening or talking about any subject like anapana sati. It's like Ajahn, can you explain more the difference between thinking about any Dhamma topic and thinking maybe it's just about the words or not considering the reality. Is it that the difference between considering and thinking, or is there more than just thinking about the word that we hear from you or from anyone? The word that talks about the reality, that is getting pointing to the reality, and which allows us to beginning to understand the nature of the words of the thinking is thinking about. It sounds like a very, very subtle difference, considering and thinking about anapanasati, for instance.
Let me see if I can summarize in one sentence your question to Ajahn. Ajahn, he's asking, when you talk about considering realities and thinking about realities, what is the distinction? Is that correct, Alberto?
Yeah.
The
Thinking,
distinction between
the difference between
thinking and considering.
Okay. Thinking about seeing. Considering what seeing is. Thinking about sweetness, the taste, and considering what is its nature. Thinking about a glass, and what is a glass? What is there taken for a glass?
Considering with wise attention about the object that's usually just the object of thinking, can we say? Because usually we just think about tables and cups, but considering what the truth is means thinking with wise attention, beginning to consider with a little understanding about what the truth is.
And the reality of seeing, not just it sees. Without considering what is it, what is it which sees now? Without considering, can there be the begin to attain to the reality which arises and sees only, not thinking, different ones by conditions? And consider a little more, what condition? At moment of saying, citta can arise without cetasika, and cetasika has to arise with citta. Is it paccaya? And what kind of paccaya? That is considering, not just it's conditioned.
So that's when we talk about pariyatti must be with considering, not only thinking. To be pariyatti, understanding at pariyatti level.
Wise considering, yes. Considering what
Must be
breath
more
is
than-
underwater, wisely or unwisely.
Can you see Kun Jonathan now?
Yeah.
Considering or no considering? Can you see Kun Jonathan?
I'm thinking of I can think of them, but not consider, no.
Only that which can be seen, which is not Kun Jonathan. Our reality, consider each word. It's not Kun Jonathan. Really? Is it only that which can be seen? What is true? Considering, not just thinking. I can see Kun Jonathan. Everyone can see him. Is that just think about it? Or consider whether can what we take for Kun Jonathan as someone seen can or cannot? See, considering.
That's not considering. That's just thinking with ignorance and.
So, what is real, what is there appearing, must be a reality. The same as, can you hear Kun Jonathan's voice? Considering, or just thinking, can or cannot.
No, that's thinking again. Thinking again about the Jonathan's voice and but not considering Jonathan's voice.
Considering that it's all gone and there never was a Jonathan, there never was a voice, just sound that was heard and gone completely. It's considering about what is the voice.
Until
Considering the truth of the voice and of Jonathan. Yeah. That's considering.
until what is it now? What is there now is not anything or anyone at all. Truthfully, no idea about that as something, because it appears as it is to sati and panya. without sati and panya is something all day.
Being mindful at that moment of sati, even now, even whilst considering wisely. And I think we're going to pause now for lunch, so we'll continue this afternoon at 1:30 if those at home are still awake and able to